Joker's identity is finally revealed in my review of One Piece, episode 599. So while some of you might be disappointed to find out that the Joker in the One Piece universe is not the arch enemy of Batman, it is someone who has been appearing in the One Piece series for a very long time, a very infamous member of the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Here's the spoiler, guys. It is Doflamingo. And this is a huge reveal that came at the end of this episode, but there is a lot of build-up to this. First and foremost, we get to see some of the things that are going on with all the different members of the Straw Hat crew. Usopp and Nami, who is inside of Sanji's body, are actually having to deal with all of the different babies who are having their withdrawal symptoms. And did anybody else, maybe it's just because I've been watching it a lot lately, did anyone else get a sort of Attack on Titan vibe from this? Eventually, though, they all get accosted by Caesar Clown, and he brought his candy along, and I'm sure that's going to sway the kids in his favor. Zoro, Brook, and Sanji, who's in Nami's body, and the samurai are still having to contend with Smiley, and he's starting to transform into this sort of lizard-looking creature. He has these frills on the side of his head, and he's continuing to spit himself up on the other side of the lake so that he can reform into a brand new body, and he's starting to get a little bit bigger and more aggressive, so that's when they decide they have got to get the hell out of there. But let's get the elephant out of the room. Probably the coolest part of this episode is getting to see that all these big characters have essentially all been captured, and they're all chained up in inside this cell. And the Straw Hats seem to be taking most of this in stride. Luffy, of course, isn't really affected by any of this. He's just kind of happy to see that everybody's okay. And then we finally get to learn a little bit more about Virgo. And at the beginning of the episode, he was just beating the fuck out of Law, and he also tied him up and threw him in the cell with Luffy and the gang. And we basically get to learn that he's been a double agent. He's, of course, the leader of the G5 Marines, but he's also been like the right-hand man of Joker the entire time. And the reason that Law knows this is apparently that he used to work for Joker as well, but apparently he doesn't anymore. And that's where the huge conflict in this episode comes into play. And, Virgo is just a really cold and heartless kind of guy. And it's weird because he almost came across as goofy at first, because he had the half-eaten hamburger attached to his face, which Monet did bring up this week, and there it is. And maybe they'll explain why the food was sticking to his mouth. I thought that was a joke. Maybe that went on for a little too long, and there really wasn't much of a payoff for it other than, oh, you have some food stuck to your face. Oh, thanks. And that was pretty much the end of that. But it was getting to figure out a little bit more about Virgo and his backstory, and how he's basically been covering up all of the events from the G5 Marines over the past couple years, including the kids who were captured by Caesar Clown. So Virgo knows that all these guys know way too much, so he's going to have to eliminate them. And this is where the big reveal comes into the episode. Marine brings up Joker. And Law brings up the fact that, he did work with him, and that's when we get the reveal that it is Doflamingo. And this is great, because he's a villain who has just been appearing for a very long time in the series. He's always been very ambiguous as to what his true goals are and what he's really up to. And I think that's what makes him a really interesting villain. He's just kind of hard to read. And maybe that's because he's wearing sunglasses and he's just really crazy with all of his pink boa bullshit. But still, Doflamingo's a great character. A ton of different stuff in this week's episode. All your favorite characters got to make an appearance. The story's been moving along oh so steadily. There were funny moments. There were action moments. And, of course, the big reveal is what everybody's going to be talking about this week. And I always love in the One Piece anime how they time those to-be-continued screens so perfectly every single week. So it wasn't a perfect episode by any means. It was a little slow, especially some of the stuff with the G5 Marines. And there's even this scene where they went back to the island with all the parents of the kids, which was a little predictable and, pretty much like stuff I've just seen in the series before. I wish they kind of, just skipped away from that because, we don't really care about that too much, or at least I don't. But still, like I said, the animation wasn't perfect this week, but that reveal was a huge reveal. So because of that, I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. Still pretty good. I can't wait to see what's going to pick up next week, because hopefully the action will start to, ramp up a little bit more. But that's pretty much it. 8 out of 10. But how did you guys feel about this week's episode? Were you shocked by the reveal of Joker? I'd love to know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And you guys know the drill. Before you leave, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It's one of the best ways to support Super Comic Guru 9000. That concludes this review today. We'll see you next time, guys. Also, guys, before you leave, I implore you to check out my most recent review on Attack on Titan Episode 10. You can check it out right here, and it actually features the character Armin doing something really awesome. So that's pretty cool in itself. And make sure before you leave, make sure to thumb up the video and subscribe. See you next time, guys.